People who have witnessed there's not going to be a wedding moment following a bachelorette party. What went down? While working the night before a wedding at a hotel, the staff and I heard a loud scream from upstairs. Cue the bride screaming and sobbing, shouting the wedding's off, while storming out the place, followed by the groom stark bollock naked, covering his nether regions with his hands, apologizing profusely. Turns out she caught the mother of the bride and the groom shagging. Safe to say we had an easy shift the next day, as we didn't have a wedding to cater for. Obligatory, not me. I worked at a music venue in the Detroit area that was also a popular wedding reception location. Came into work one week in the fall, when pretty much every weekend is booked solid with weddings, and noticed Saturday was open, no one scheduled. Talk to the wedding planner. She tells me the groom cancelled. Odd. Talk to wedding planner's younger brother, who was our head barback. He tells me that the groom, excited for the wedding, left work at lunch on Friday, bought a nice bottle of wine, and headed home to surprise his bride-to-be. Except, he was the one in for a surprise, as he walked into his new house to hear sounds coming from their bedroom. He walked in to find his bride in bed with another man. His dad. We tried to talk him into doing a big fuck you party because we'd never fill the space and there was no refund, but he declined. Edit. A lot of people are speculating where I worked. It was the Crowfoot Ballroom. If you haven't been, go see a show there. It's a phenomenal venue. A stripper came to my buddy Jack's bachelor party and proceeded to put a condom on a dildo and bang herself in front of the crowd. It was awesome. At the end of the night, Jack, the groom-to-be, was cleaning up a bit and put the condom wrapper in his pocket absent-mindedly. The next day his fiancée Kristen was doing laundry and found the condom wrapper, and freaked out thinking that he had cheated on her. Jack tried to reassure her and explained the situation, that the stripper had used it on herself. Kristen is a really cool lady and takes it pretty well and calms down, but she can't quite shake the feeling. So, Jack tells her to call me to confirm what happened. Kristen calls and asks, so what happened last night? Mind you, I'm totally in the dark about the situation. And Jack and I had never discussed what we are supposed to tell Kristen, so I totally downplay it. Not much, the boys just had a few beers and smoked some cigars. I hear you, lying piece of shit. Click. College friend was to get married to a guy she had only known for 4 months. She found out where the bachelor party was and wandered in to find the groom getting some head from the best man. My cousin runs a popular upscale marriage venue and always tells the story way better than this, so here is a rough overview. The groom's mom was a heavy drinker and got belligerent when she drank, so understandably the bride wanted the groom to try to limit her drinking. The afternoon before the wedding, the bride arrives to see groom's mom smashed with the groom himself giving her beers. Next thing my cousin knows, she was there to oversee preparations. The bride and groom are in a straight up fist fight, which leads to an Anchorman style street fight between members of both families in the parking lot. Apparently they recently scheduled a new day for it. I can't imagine the tension there. I used to work at an upscale wedding venue. 2 weeks before a huge, expensive wedding, the groom's father dies. So they ask us to turn the wedding into a funeral instead. They were a lovely couple, and it was really awfully sad when it happened, but I still use it as my go-to answer for describe a time when you delivered outstanding customer service type questions in job interviews. One of my best friend's wedding was cancelled when he learned she slept with a stripper after her bachelorette party. Like 3 days after. He is happily remarried now with a kid. Worst part was that it was a destination wedding honeymoon and he couldn't get a refund, so we all went anyway and he was super depressed the whole time. His family was all there too. Bachelor party in Vegas. Bachelor hooks up with a girl. Gives her his cell phone number so they can continue the party that night. Bride-to-be is sitting at home with the iPad getting all of the iMessages from the girl. She cancelled the wedding that day. In the early 90s my friend's brother was getting married. The night before the groom and best man decided they should kill the ex-boyfriend of the bride. They did. They got caught, and the wedding was cancelled. For obvious reasons. As far as I know, the two are still serving time. Paramedic. Bachelor party mixed with drunk driving. One of the groomsmen killed. Believe the entire wedding was cancelled and the couple split up. Not me or anyone I know personally, but in Detroit there's an AM radio show called Dave and Chuck the Freak. The show is pretty much what you expect. Dick and fart jokes mostly. But they had a question to the listeners one morning on this exact topic. The story went that the caller had gotten super drunk at his bachelor party and some of his groomsmen sodomized him with liquor bottles and took photos. The caller had even stated that he brought this up to his fiancée and she basically said get over it and don't ruin my big day. Needless to say, having this info out on the Metro Detroit radio waves caused quite a backlash against the groomsmen and fiancé, even ending in some kind of legal battle, if I recall. Anyway, the caller received very positive support from the community to cut it off with his fiancée. There was even a trending hashtag on Twitter for a while after. Edit. A letter edit. AM as in the morning. Bride and her BFF were at the bachelor party. Groom f'd the BFF. Friend invites me to his wedding. He and fiancé are fairly poor, have lived together for years. They're both semi-disabled. His is PTSD, hers is physical, and on fixed incomes, and live in a somewhat expensive area. They have 3 gift registries, Target, Macy's, Crate and Barrel, and a huge invite list, over 300 friends family members. All the stuff on the registries is standard stuff like towels, coffee cups, flatware, etc. Anyway, people fly out, get ready for wedding. 2 days before wedding is bachelor party and friend gets drunk and admits that she's not really his fiancée. They are just roommates and they have no intention of getting married, they just needed the stuff. They're going to cancel the wedding tomorrow and keep all the gifts. Had to protect him from getting his ass kicked by about 24 people. Then had to have the fiancé come clean to everyone since he was too hungover. They ended up returning most of the gifts to people, but a surprising number of people let them keep the gifts. As his grandfather said, if you needed these things that badly to lie like this, you must have been very desperate. My buddy was sitting on my couch the night before his wedding. He said, I want to throw that in a combine. The rest of us all kind of looked at each other in disbelief. It lasted a year or two. She's still alive. Buddy of mine went out night before wedding. Crashed his car and died. They dated for like 5 years. In the morning of the wedding, he was dead. An ex-girlfriend was at a bachelorette party at a seedy male strip club. She came home from the party and said, well, the wedding is off. The bride was getting the usual treatment, sitting in a chair with strippers gyrating around her, whipping dongs around, and then one put whipped cream on his cock and invited her to lick it off, which he did, with her tonsils, until the stripper shoots his load all over the front of her I'm the bride t-shirt. About this moment, the bride kind of comes to her senses, looks around and sees like 20 of her friends pointing cell phones at her, recording and taking photos, and starts freaking out. My girlfriend says she started screaming at everyone, you better delete that shit, and generally having a full rage meltdown, which is apparently tough to take seriously when you're basted in strippages. This tale of modern romance closes very shortly later with the bride's phone ringing a call from her fiancé, who has already received photos from her friends of his bride-to-be with a stuffed in her mouth. I had a buddy that happened to also. True story. He ended up banging one of his fiance's friends as revenge, which she knew about, but they just let bygones be bygones, and they still got married. Eye for an eye, I guess, and it worked out. They've been married for 8 years, but we never talk about it.